You're listening to Interactive Wrestling Radio, featuring the Interactive Interview, courtesy of WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Looking at the Pitbulls, the new Pitbulls, Pitbull 1, Pitbull 3, and the alpha dog herself, okay? You're looking at mass destruction when it comes to power, strength, ability. He beats and craps Russians out of his ass for fucking fun. You understand me? Look at me, I just came out of the ring, got done beating Tommy Rich's ass and Doug Gilbert's ass, baby. You're looking at the next up-and-coming tag team. All you little boys out there with your flipping flopping flops that you do. So all these stupid moves that don't mean shit. You know what means stuff? Getting punched in the face. That's what we do. We punch you in the face. So get a good look at this 300-pounder and get a look at her. Okay? Because we're coming to kick your ass. Pitbulls out.
Welcome back to Interactive Wrestling Radio. Joining me on the Newsmaker line for the first time in, I gotta do the math, 18 years. He joined us back in 2007, and now he's got a book out there. He is the original Pitbull #1, Gary Wolf. Are you with me, sir?
Yes, I am. Happy to be here, and what's happening?
It's a pleasure to have you back on, and I wanted to talk to you about the book that you just put out. I just read it on the news lines a few days ago that the memoir is out there. It's called The Pitbull Unleashed, the Gary Wolf Story. What made you decide now was the right time to put pen to paper?
I had a book company reach out to me, and I was always asked before, but I never wanted to do anything. But this guy, he asked me, he convinced me. So I put it out. Guys, it came out May 3rd. Right now, in wrestling books, number 5. Ranked number 5. Also, in all sports category on Amazon. That means every sport there is that has a book. So we're talking thousands of books. We're number 49.
Wow.
So we're rocking and rolling right now, man. So goal is to get a lot of books out there, sell a lot of them.
So were there any challenges writing the book? I know you've done a lot of interviews like this one, but a lot of interviews where you talk about a lot of your career. But was it hard to go back and really think about all the things that you've been through and all the experiences of your career, putting it to paper and really kind of showing who you are on the inside?
Well, yeah, that was the fascinating part of it, because, I'll get up off the couch, walk into the kitchen to get something, and I won't even remember why I got up. Okay? Because I've had so many concussions and stuff like that. But remembering stuff that happened a long time ago, I don't have a problem with that. Sammy, I break his balls all the time because I remember shit that happened back in the day. And it kills him because he can't remember.
Wow.
It drives him crazy. So I'm lucky in that aspect. I was able to remember a lot of stuff.
I did a weird interview a couple weeks ago with a guy from your past, Frank Dusek, who was involved in SAPW and NAWA as it was at one point. And your name came up. We were talking about all the stars of that promotion, and he said he thought you guys were great, but he feared that you might be too short to make it in the WWE. And I always thought, when he said that, I actually kind of Googled how tall you were, because I never, ever gave it any thought. The way you guys worked, especially in ECW, you never really thought about your guys' height. Did that ever play a role in how you guys were viewed? Is your height?
No, because with lifts, I was like 5'10" and a half. Anthony was 5'12", almost 6 foot. So height had nothing to do with it. It was just we were thick. We were big. That was our gimmick. And that took over everything. We went head-to-head with the British Bulldogs, dude, and They weren't bigger than, and we were against them. We were like in our 20s when we first did it, 1920. That was in 88, 89 in New Zealand. So when they got back from New Zealand from the tour, they went back to work for Vince, and the boys talk. So next thing you know, we're working the Samoans at an indie show somewhere, and often go like me and Anthony. We were already friends with Kevin Sullivan because I met him before I even started wrestling. So it was like, once they introduced us to King Curtis and Don Morocco, and next thing I know, I got Jimmy Snuka at my house hanging out, Steve Austin's hanging out, Rick Rude. Everybody that came through ECW was at my place hanging out. I was only 7 blocks away.
That's awesome. A couple of years ago, I interviewed Todd Gordon, and Todd Gordon wrote the foreword to your book. How important was Todd Gordon to your progression as a pro wrestler and the chances that you got at pro wrestling?
He helped us out a lot. I mean, he got us in TWA. We were the second tag team to ever hold the tag titles there. Super Destroyers were the first tag team to ever have that belt. We were the second. And then when eventually that TWA turned into Eastern Championship Wrestling. And Todd was cool about it because he knew we were going to Japan. So he would always tell us, look, and Larry Sharp too, when Larry was our manager at that point, he would manage us. Anybody that graduated out of the Monster Factory that did well, Larry would manage, like Bam Bam Bigelow, The Godfather. You know what I mean? They would be managed by Larry. So Larry would manage us, and he'd go on tour with us. He didn't care,
That's very cool. And
yeah.
We've done an interview with you before, and you talked about, the option was possibly going to WWE or going to Japan. And obviously you chose Japan because they were willing to pay more. The way things are now with Legends contracts and merchandising, action figures, all that kind of stuff, do you ever look back and think, maybe we should have gone to WWE, or do you look back with no regrets?
No, we should have went to WWE, did a WrestleMania 1 or 2, and then we could have jumped right to Japan if we wanted to. So,
very good.
I mean, now that I think about it, we should have been like, all right, fuck it. You know what I mean? Let's just stay here. Let's get the TV exposure. Listen, we had no problem with the boys. They loved us. That locker room was full of 80 guys. You know what I mean? I mean, they didn't even have a drug policy back then. So it was insanity. It was cool working for them in 88 and 89 because we were still going to school. It's just that when they would be in the area, they told Larry Sharp, Cowboy Bob Orton came down and checked us out, went back to Vince and told him about us, and Vince called Larry and said, listen, let's have these guys, and a couple other guys come up to Niagara Falls, to all the tri-state areas. You know what I'm saying? And then they liked me and Anthony, and then they started sending us on tour. So I'd be in Austria, me and Anthony with a bunch of fucking WWE guys, and we're wrestling Jimmy Snuka and Beefcake for 2 weeks straight. And it's great. And we're making great money. So we weren't bitching about nothing. We were just getting experience, and we were getting to know the boys. So come 1990, our first trip to Japan, I mean, come on, we're there with the Killer Bees. We're there with Tiger Jet Singh. We're here with Tiger silver medalists. I mean, it was crazy. Back then, Japan was no joke, man. They were stiff. I used to do 45 minutes with Thunder Liger.
Wow.
In single matches.
That's amazing.
It was crazy. And you had to be super stiff, bro. I mean, if you didn't drill the guy as hard as you could, they would yell at you. Believe me, it was crazy. Now,
I believe it.
Yeah, nowadays, I heard it's completely different.
That's what I was going to say. Nowadays, it's a lot softer, and the audience is even different. The way that the audience would react back in the day was a lot more respectful and all that. Now they're, almost Americanized.
Yeah. Back in the day, they wouldn't say nothing. It was silence unless you did something to impress them. then they would clap. You know what I mean? That's how they were. You know, or you did something sick that they like loved. You know, like put a guy through a table or open up thumbtacks or hit him with a baseball bat, barbed wire bat, you know what I mean, upside the head. They would go crazy.
Pretty cool. Now, you're from New Jersey originally. I'm from New Jersey originally. The other side of the states, but still, we're still New Jersey guys. And ECW, for people like me that grew up watching it, 2 in the morning on Sports Channel America or whatever channel it was on, it holds a special place in our hearts. And there's a lot of people that ECW is still like their number one company when they talk about the history of when they got into wrestling. Why is it, do you think, that ECW managed to touch a nerve with so many people and became this phenomenon that is still revered decades later?
I look at it as we have a cult following, and also our people that follow us, and especially the ones that used to come to the arena, they're not regular fans. They're smart fans. Like, you can't do something in front of them that's stupid, that doesn't make any sense, and they're not going to buy it. They're going to let you know. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I always tell everybody, like, because everybody wants to wrestle there at the arena. You know, for me, I lived in that arena. You know what I mean? I had my wrestling school in that arena. So I know, you know what I mean? But I tell them, good luck. Do do the best you can. But don't mess up, because if you mess up, they're going to let you know you fucked up. And that's exactly how they're going to say it. You fucked up. And if you don't turn it around, every time they see you, that's what they're going to do. You can't fool them. You have to be legit.
Do you think that's changed at all?
No. That's the difference. You know what I mean, with our fans. Plus we were really cool with our fans. We like, when we would have a show, we would bring the fans into the show. I mean, I don't know how many times fans jumped in the ring and the ring would collapse. How many times they would throw chairs in the ring. Yep. I mean, I got hit in the head with one once. The leg hit me right in the head, right inside my head. I had to go to the hospital and get staples. That's how deep it was. So it was crazy. You know what I mean? The only thing you could do is lay down, throw a chair over your head, and hope nothing kills you. You know what I mean? But we have a cult following, and what's going on today is the people that were there now have kids, and they're showing their kids, like, I see what you're watching, but this is what I used to watch. And then they get into it, you know what I mean? And you go on Peacock and find all the ECW stuff.
Yeah. I also, the stories, even though, the action that we just were talking about, the flying chairs, the Sabus jumping through tables, we'll get to him in a minute. Jumping through tables, I mean. The stories were also more reality-based. Nothing more real than your broken neck and your feud with Shane Douglas, which was, that's amazing. And it's so cool to see you now teaming up with Shane Douglas in the year 2025 here and there. I guess, would you say that was the low light and also highlight of your career, that you suffered the injury, that sidelining injury, but also that it led to such a memorable story and that horrible scene of him shaking the halo and all that?
Yeah, that was intense. I mean, you got to remember, that's called white heat. That's when people jump over the guardrail and try to attack him. That's how insane that night was when he threw me down. When I had that, everybody knows. That shoot broke my neck. I had to convince them to do the angle. They didn't want to do the angle. First. You know what I mean? They were scared shitless. I literally broke my neck. I was walking around with a halo. And then they decided, okay, your doc. They talked to my doctor, and I was very lucky. I could have been paralyzed or dead. I broke it on a Saturday. I didn't know I was in a lot of pain, but I didn't think I broke my neck. I thought if you broke your neck, you die. So come Monday, me, Raven, Sandman, Anthony, we would all, you know, we would get in the car and drive to Cherry Hill, you know, 20-minute ride, go to our chiropractor. You know, every Monday we would do that, get lined up, you know, after the weekend, bumping all over the place, doing crazy shit. As soon as I walked in the office, I mean, you got to remember this guy has seen me for 30 years. So as soon as he saw me, he knew something was wrong. He goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "I think I jammed my neck. I took a bad bump. And it was my fault. It wasn't Shane Douglas's fault. I broke my neck because I took the bump wrong, and I admit that." He looked at me and said, "Did you shit your pants or piss your pants?" I said, "No." It's like, he goes, "My x-ray machine's down because I'm moving offices, but I'm writing you out a script for a CAT scan. I want you to go right now to the hospital, Jefferson Hospital." That was a spinal hospital. "Go to the hospital, get this CAT scan right now." So that's what I did. I walked in the fucking hospital. They dropped me off at my house. I got in my car, drove to the hospital. It was like 20 blocks away. Parked my car, valet parked it, walked in the emergency room, handed them that fucking script. And usually emergency room, they'll say, "All right, go sit down." They don't care if you're bleeding. You know what I mean? But they looked at my script and it said, you know, CAT scan, neck. They don't fuck around when they see that. They're like, they're like, "Mr. Wolf, come with us right now." I go, "Okay." Before I even sat down. So I walked in the back with them. I was in a lot of pain, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I was hurting bad. I'd never felt that pain before. So that's why, you know, I never jammed my neck before. So I didn't know what was that. They gave me the test and then they strapped me down. And I said, "Look, I need to get up. I got to take a piss." They're like, "You're not fucking moving." And I'm like, "Why?" They go, "You broke your neck. Your neck is broke. C1 is broken in half."
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm like, "So why are you guys all fucking, you know, like you're surrounding me?" They go, "Because we don't understand how you're alive. You should be dead." It was like you got in a car accident, broke your neck. Something's not right. And they're like, "How'd you get here?" I said, "I drove." They didn't believe me. I had to show them my valet ticket. But they wouldn't let me up. They put a Miami collar on me, which are fucking horrible, very uncomfortable. That's when I was really feeling pain. And I remember the head guy came in, looked at me, looked at my x-rays, came back, looked at me, and said, he was only maybe 3 years older than me. And he was the head of fucking the spinal cord division. Thank goodness Ty Gordon knew him. So he just said, "I'll be back in the morning." And I'm not going to sleep. I was up all night because I was in pain. 7 o'clock, 15 doctors came in my room. And nobody could figure out how the fuck I'm still alive. And then they finally realized. They said, "Well, the only thing we came up with was that when you broke your neck, that's why you're so tight, like your back and traps is killing you because it's protecting you." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, your muscle protected you. When you broke your neck, everything got super tight." I go, "Yeah." I said, "That's why I'm in pain." He goes, "Yeah, that saved your life." He goes, he goes, "Technically, if you break that, because that turns your head, you know, and it's connected to your spine, it's on the top." He goes, "Well, if you break that, you die. It stops your breathing." He goes, we're over here scratching our heads because we've never seen this before. Plus, he was like, "Your spinal cord, like where my spinal cord fluid is, it was like double what regular people." He goes, "That is very odd." He goes, "There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a good thing." He goes, "But it's very odd that you have that much spinal fluid in your body." So I was just like, when can I wrestle again? Like, what do we got to do? You know what I mean? If I had surgery, I knew I was fucked. He goes, "I don't have to do any surgery. Your muscle, the disc is sitting right there. It's just broken in half." He goes, "I'll put a halo on you, and in 6 weeks it'll be healed." That's exactly what he told me. And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, it's the bone." He goes, "It didn't move. Now, if it would have moved, then I would have had to cut you and then fuse you, and then your wrestling career is over." He goes, I would take 6 months off, recuperate. I took 8 months, and then I was back in the ring, and Rick Rude brought me back. So it was an honor.
I remember Rick Rude bringing you back. I remember you making the run in and taking down Shane, and I remember you looked so happy. You rolled on the ropes. You're taking it all in from the audience that was on their feet. It was roaring.
It was the biggest pop ever in that building. The roof came off. And it was good, and it felt good because the fans, they respected me, and they were like, fuck, this guy broke his neck and he still fucking came back. That's fucking ECW. You know what I mean?
That's hardcore, exactly.
I can't say anything else about it. I just came back and did what I did. Went every town against Shane, whooped his ass. They didn't put us in the pay-per-view, which I thought they should have.
Mm-hmm.
Then they waited for us to do a I Quit match later on, which that was all Paulie's idea. So, but you know what I mean? What am I going to do? It was a good run. You know, a good 3-year fucking. That's the thing about ECW. You had Raven stealing Sandman's kids and wife, turning them into junkies. You know what I'm saying? You had at one point where Raven blinded Sandman, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he got crucified. I mean, all the fucking Raven and fucking Tommy Dreamer. I mean, the match, the rivalry. You know, then you got me and Shane. I mean, all our angles in ECW were hard fucking core, man. I mean, Kurt Angle ran out of that building.
I remember.
The night that,
yep.
Yeah, the night that Sandman got
crucified, right?
He looked at that and was like, I can't fucking, I'm a gold medalist from the U.S. Olympics. I can't be a part of this. I got to get the fuck out of here. And that's what he did. He rolled.
There's Jim Cornette does a podcast, and he's been lately saying that Paul Heyman wrote amazing stories, but the finishes were never what the finishes should have been. The finishes never were as good as the story. I kind of feel that way. You feel that way?
I thought the finishes were fucking fantastic. You know what I mean? But you got to remember, too, he used to give us a lot of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we got to use our artistic interest in the business and use that to set up a match. You know what I mean? Where most, you know, Vince will hand you a script, say, go.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's very hard to transfer from one to another.
Very cool. So, unfortunately, we had some horrible news over the weekend. A guy that you traded the 3PW championship with, and a guy that was around your career most of the time, Sabu. We lost Sabu.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the passing of the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal maniac Sabu?
I'm very sad. You know what I mean? And I was with him this past Saturday.
Oh, wow.
In Philadelphia. So I did hang out with him one more time, which was cool. But Sabu was really cool with me. He would call me every 2 weeks just to check in. You know, we would always call each other. A lot of ECW guys do that now. You know, you lost so many of us. I mean, even you, Jack, used to call me all the time. You know, I was with him the week before he passed away. It's fucking crazy, man. It's sad.
It's crazy. I was watching the Dark Side of the Ring. They show these things on rotation, and they had the Bam Bam Bigelow one on, and they were showing his stuff from ECW, and I'm like, I just started looking in my head, and I'm picking out the guys. I'm like, okay, this guy is gone, and that guy's gone, and that guy's gone. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is not 100 years ago. This is, 25 years ago, and we've lost so many of the guys that we were watching on TV, and it's just incredible. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think I compiled a list together in my book, which I did a chapter for the ones that were passed.
Something I hope. Yeah, well, hopefully you do an honor to them, because it's an unbelievable thing. Hopefully in the book, and I haven't read it yet. I have it on order, but I haven't got my copy just yet. Hopefully there's a little talk about 3PW, because for me, as a fan of yours, that is where I felt you were able to show your wares as a singles performer and it was in that ECW arena primarily, but you were able to be world champion and be the face of the company. How high does that rank, being the 3PW champion and really representing that company in your career
Look at
highlights?
the guys, I don't have to say anything. Look at the guys I went against with that for that belt.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Sullivan, Terry Funk, Sandman, Raven, Sabu. You know what I mean? Just keep bringing it up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to say anything. That says it right there. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. Plus, most of them guys that were on that show were my students anyway. I'll be honest with you.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I had an awesome school. I mean, the Briscoe brothers used to come to my school
Wow, that's amazing.
and train, you know what I mean, when they were younger. I accepted everybody. You know, a lot of guys like coming to our school because the Pitbulls were tag team specialists. You know, and that's what we specialized in. And that's what's got to happen nowadays. Tag teams nowadays got to get fucking more innovative, more, you know. Don't worry about doing a fucking flip outside the ring. Let's do a nice double team move. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. That kind of... we'll get back to the book and the new Pitbulls in just a second, but you mentioned the ECW arena earlier, and I said, has it changed? And there's a reason I asked that. AEW is going to do a residency there, kind of like how bands do residency in Vegas. They're going to do a residency at the ECW arena. I think they're doing 6 or 8 shows there in a row.
I think it's 7 shows. The owner, I'm very good friends with the owner, and he told me they signed a 7-show deal.
That's amazing. With that style of wrestling, how will the ECW audience, the ECW arena audience, take to that style of wrestling?
I think you're not going to get the hard. I mean, unless, I'm not going to lie, you know, maybe the AEW guys may get a little bit of hardcore in them when they're in the building and want to do some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Moxley, you got to remember Moxley, Cesaro, Yoda, those guys been in that building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I remember fucking Cesaro was working with Quackenbush's school, and Quackenbush had a ring in there, and I remember walking in, and he was taking a bump outside the ring, and he never hooked a rope. And he had long hair and a ponytail because he's bald now. I didn't even know it was him. One of my students, like about 4 weeks ago, was like, "Don't you remember yelling at him?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "He was trying to take a bump outside the ring, but he wouldn't hook the top rope." So I yelled at him. I'm like, "Look, man, you better hook that fucking top rope. I don't care. God forbid if it snaps or something happens, at least you have a hold of something, you know what I mean, so you can land on your feet and not your head, and I don't want to see you break your neck," is what I told him. But yeah, it was him. And I was just laughing about it because look at him now, you know what I mean, he's working his ass off.
Yeah.
He's a strong motherfucker, so.
And you teamed with Shane Douglas, I believe it was at the arena. Was it at the arena this past week? I think it was.
Yeah.
So,
we were going against Wildfire, Tommy Rich, and Doug Gilbert.
there you go.
Which is old school, yeah.
That was very cool. The Memphis, what do they call them? I can't remember. Memphis something.
Memphis Brothers or something like that. I'm not sure what they call themselves.
I was at that arena where, to get to the bathroom, you had to walk up a plank of wood, and there was puddles underneath the plank of wood, and you didn't know what that puddle was, and you kind of suspected what it might be. And if you see it now, it's a completely renovated, different-looking building, especially on the inside than it used to be. Is it different wrestling there now, or is it still, is it still ECW? Does it still feel like the same old place?
To me, it feels like the same old place. I mean, it's very nice now. So now we'd have to be more respectful. But they gave us better dressing rooms, and the bathrooms are nice. And, you know what I'm saying? The only thing they don't have there is a shower, when the shower we had was horrific as it was. You know what I mean? But, that'd be cool if they could put a couple showers in there. I think that would make it perfect.
There you go. So
I'm happy with the way it looks. It looks beautiful.
Very cool. So the new Pitbulls, the Pitbulls are out there, and after all these years, since we lost Anthony and Pitbull 2 as he was, there's now a Pitbull 3, Christopher and Nino. What made you decide that it was time to bring back the Pitbulls and to have Nino be your third Pitbull?
It took me a while to find somebody that could fit Anthony's position in the team. And Nino does that with no problem. He's a fucking natural power lifter. Super strong. I mean, he's in a Guinness Book of Record. He pulled a car 3 miles or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a beast. Kind of looks like Ant, but he's 300 pounds. Anthony was like 280.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy's even bigger. It was time because I'm tired of looking at these tag teams now. I'm still in good shape. I can still work. So I figured this is a good time to say, hey, motherfuckers, you know, look at what you're looking at. And as long as I've been in the business, I am a tag team specialist, and the Pitbulls are back, and we'll take on anybody.
Very cool.
You know? I mean, I even called out the Billington boys in England. I did a podcast with them. Let's do it again like we did when we went to New Zealand against the British Bulldogs. Let's do it all over again with Dynamite's kids. You know what I mean? With his nephews and stuff like that. You know, I like Dynamite. He was very nice to me. He was very cool with me.
Mm-hmm.
The Bulldogs liked us. We were lucky.
Yep.
You know, the first time we worked against them, they didn't even give us a finish, bro. They were not happy. They thought we were trying to steal their gimmick. You know, Larry came back and I go, what's the finish? He's like, there is no finish. I'm like, what? So he goes, they want to do 45 minutes in New Zealand, but it was in front of 55,000 people, so it was pretty fucking crazy. We never been in front of that many people.
Yeah, because back...
So we had one match with them, and then the next day we were drinking with them, drinking buddies. And they were cool as hell, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, you know, wrestlers talk, you know, especially back in them days, the old timers, the oldie guys, when I'd go up there and learn and work, I would work Ted DiBiase, you know. Mm-hmm. I didn't care, you know. We would get experience, you know what I mean? Working the Art Foundation, that's why Vince wanted to hire us. Gorilla Monsoon was a Jersey guy. Mm-hmm. He knew we were from New Jersey. He was doing commentating with Vince McMahon when we wrestled the Hart Foundation. And that's when Gorilla hit Vince on the leg and said, yo, you got to hire them guys. Mm. They're young, but look how big they are already. You know, we were fitting in because we worked out. We were going to be bodybuilders. That's why we were big. Mm-hmm. We were going to be pro bodybuilders because I used to work out with Johnny Jackson, who's a pro bodybuilder. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? Next thing you know, I'm like, fuck, I'm getting into wrestling. But I didn't, back in the day, I didn't think it was possible. You know what I'm saying? But we went to the Monster Factory and we were successful.
Very cool. Yeah, because back then you were the American Pitbull Dogs. It seemed like it was a little lengthy, and it got shortened just down to the Pitbulls, which, you know, that fit a little bit better. But that might be why the Bulldogs didn't.
You gotta remember we were in the stud stable. Robert Fuller, you know, he's a Southerner. You know, he'd call us Pitbull Dogs. You know what I mean? Or, you know, but once we turned heel and made the Nasty Boys go babyface. That's when all the shit hit the fan, because we were able to turn the Nasty Boys baby faces. That's how good of heels we were. And then they put me and Anthony with the stud stable, with Maniac Matt Bourne, and the U.S. Mail was with us also, who worked for WCW for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. It was cool being in the stud stable, because we would travel all over. We would go to Memphis, we would go to Lawler's place, we would go to Jarrett's place. And it was good because we were in the stud stable. That's how I met Sid Vicious. That's how I met fucking Mark Callis, who's the Undertaker.
Undertaker, right.
Yeah, I met all them guys through Robert Fuller because he trained most of them guys. So, you know, I mean, when I met, he's like, no, this ain't Sid Vicious. This is Sydney. and that's what I would always call him. And he was cool with it because, you know, Robert said it was okay. And they respected Robert Fuller. You have to respect Robert Fuller.
Absolutely. I was blessed enough to interview him back in the day. Back in the day, meaning like, 7 years ago. But yeah, he's a hell of a guy, and you get him going on a story, he'll give you some real gold. So he's a good guy. I really enjoyed the honor of talking to him. Do you have any kind of goals that you set yourself with the new version of the Pitbulls? Do you have any place that you want to go? Is there a ceiling for you guys?
I like NWA, and then I would love to show up in AEW and show some tag team stuff there.
That would be really cool to see. All right, back to the book. This is how we'll wrap up. The book is out there now. What do you hope the people that pick up the book might come away thinking about Gary Wolf that they didn't know, or that they might not have thought about you before reading it?
Hopefully I'm humble. And I've always tried to be that way. And I'm old school, man. You know, when I walk in a locker room, I shake everybody's hand. You know what I mean? Say hi to everybody, make eye contact. I mean, that's how I was taught. You know, I get it up, whoever's main event, thank you for the house. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
That's how I was taught, man. And I'm never going to change because that's the way I was taught. So...
I tell a lie. I forgot to ask one question as we were going along here. The last time I had you on was not long after there was another Pitbulls team that WWE put together. I believe it was Kid Cash and Jamie Noble, and you were less than thrilled about that at the time.
Well,
how do you feel about it now?
I got a phone call because they were pre-taping their shows at that point. They did it in Philadelphia, and they got booed out of the building. So Triple H said, I'm going to put the belts on them just to, make it even worse. What they don't realize and what Paul Heyman probably didn't know was I own the trademark of Pitbulls. I've owned the trademark since 1988 when I trademarked it. So I sent Triple H, I sent Vince McMahon a letter from my lawyer stating I own the trademark and you are to stop showing the Pitbulls on TV unless you're ready to start sending me a check. Now, I did talk to John. I'm friends with Kid Cash. Okay, it wasn't his idea. It was Triple H's idea. And I think Paul Heyman okayed it because of the fact he thought he owned the Pitbulls gimmick when he didn't. I already owned that sucker. When I met Paul Heyman, he didn't even know it was a tag team until I told him when he offered me the TV belt, and I said I don't want it because I'm a tag team. You know what I mean? And then I decided to take it anyway. But regardless of that, so then I asked Triple H, why don't you bring me in and I'll manage them? This way it will give them some relevancy, you know what I'm saying? Like legitimacy, you know what I'm saying? And I'm good on them like skills and shit, so let's go. He didn't want to do that. So my lawyer sent him another letter. They sent me a letter back with an attitude. And I went up to my attorney, who of course is a gangster attorney. And I said, listen, man, I said, look how they're talking to you. Look how they're disrespecting you. So he wrote him a letter back saying, you got 14 days. Do what you got to do, or you're going to be sending him a check. And there's no doubt about it. So within 5 days, I got a letter back, and they agreed. They apologized. And they had the tag team belts around their waist, and they stripped them of the belts and got rid of the Pitbulls, just like that. Gone.
Wow.
When in 98, they called us up and we went back there and they were supposed to hire us. Cornette was there. He's like, yeah, they're going to put Terry Reynolds with you guys. In the meantime, tonight just work the headbangers, which we've done a million times. And we had a great match. And, that's when we were waiting. I mean, I remember calling Larry Sharp 7 days later. I'm like, yo, did they call you back? Like, when the fuck are they sending us our tickets? Let's go. I'm ready to go on the road. And then we got a call to go to Australia and work for Mark Lewin for Hardcore Championship Wrestling. And there was a lot of guys down there. Road Warriors, Bruce Brothers, a lot of good tag teams. Nails was the heavyweight champion. It was all WF guys. So I said, fuck it. We moved to Melbourne, Australia, man. I was there for almost a year.
That's amazing. Purple Haze,
Yeah.
working for Purple Haze. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right, man. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to do this with me. I know I obliterated the time frame I said. I can't wait to get my hands on this book, though, man. That's going to be a great read, and I'm glad you put it out there.
Yeah, everybody's been hitting me up and said it's good. You know what I mean? So I was even surprised. So I had a very good author.
This is Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Interactive Wrestling Radio. Oh, Rush.
Featuring the interactive interview.
Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Interactive interview. Oh yeah.
Formerly The Blaze.
The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze. The Blaze rock.
You're a maniac, so what you gonna do when a Blaze of Maniac runs wild on you?
On WrestlingEpicenter.com.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling
Epicenter. Wrestling
Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Wrestling Epicenter. The Wrestling Epicenter. Don't get off.
And now we shamelessly name drop from our history.
The Wrestling Epicenter would like to apologize for the following.
All right, everybody. Viva la raza. Viva la raza.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, ladies.
Hey guys, we had a lovely conversation.
First lady.
Absolutely. Oh, look at me. She's so kooky.
Be there. Where else?
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling.
Epicenter.
Oh my God, you win! Wow, being interactive.
I was gonna shoot him. Yeah, I almost pissed my pants. Breaking neck. I got 2 words for you. I've heard a lot about you guys. Let's go. Excuse my language. You're gonna go to the shop. Don't be a no. You're into the many.
No nerves.
That was great. It's gonna be cool. What it's all about. The purest point of view. The living legend. Champion. Arrogant.
You're listening to me.
Instead of statement, I'm talking to you. Charisma.
So lonely without you.
In the land of extreme.
Testify. Nevermore. Interactive interview. I'm not just the best. Interactive interview with a plastic
You
head.
earned the right.
Nobody. You better keep listening. Thank you very much. Controversy creates cash. Professional
Made
wrestling.
in the USA, baby.
Memphis wrestling. The guy on fire.
We were sexy.
What a show.
One and only.
Interactive Wrestling Radio.
Wrestling Epicenter.
Interactive interview. We took care of the business. This isn't ballet. We are huge with this whole. You're where it's at. You better recognize who's the best. Make sure to tune in each and every week. I'll come out of your computer. Knock down your door and turn it on for you. Or else I'm going to kick your stinking teeth in. And that's the bottom line. Talk good time.
Have a nice day.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.